Hey everybody, this is Max, and I'm about to show you how to take an F18c in DSS from cold start to takeoff ready. Down in the description, you'll see a quick cold start provided by Eagle Eye. Thanks, Eagle Eye. And if you know where all the buttons and switches and knobs are, you can have your plane takeoff ready in under a minute. But I spent 20 years in the military working on F-18s as an aviation ordnanceman, and so I'm somewhat familiar with the cockpit and startup procedures. So I have my own personal startup procedure that I'm going to show you here. And like I said, this is not the only way to do it, it's just the way I do it. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with turning the battery on. There we go. Next thing I do is I test fire warning circuits A and B. You're going to hear bitching Betty, and then you're going to see some warning lights come on. So you got to hold this button up while you run the test. So here we go.
Engine fire left. Engine fire left. Engine fire right. Engine fire right. APU fire. APU fire. Bleeder left. Bleeder left. Bleeder right. Bleeder right.
Okay, and then you can release the button. You have to wait 10 seconds before you can test circuit B, so I'm going to lower my canopy. And I will arm the seat. I will now test circuit B.
Engine fire left. Engine fire left. Engine fire right. Engine fire right. APU fire. APU fire. Bleeder left. Bleeder left. Bleeder right. Bleeder right.
And that concludes our first test of 3. Alrighty, let's go ahead and turn on the APU right over here. And we're going to wait for this green light to come on. This right here is your engine display panel. You got your left and right engines. You'll see RPMs are 0 and 22 for each. We'll come back to that in a second. There's the green light. So right below the APU startup switch is the engine crank switch. Let's go ahead and select right engine. You come back up here and you'll see the RPMs are starting to run up. When you hit 20% on your keyboard, you want to hit right shift plus home. That'll introduce fuel into the engine. Here we go. You see the temperature shoot up, and we want the RPMs to reach 65%. While we're waiting for that, let's go ahead on this left panel and do a few more things. We're going to turn our oxygen on. I am going to go to the RWR, and I'm going to turn that volume down a little bit.
Roll left, roll left. Flight controls.
There we go. Right engine just reached 65. There's bitchin' Betty. I'm now going to press the reset button for 2 seconds. Then I'll come over here and press the takeoff trim button. Then I come up here and I put hook bypass to field. Because as you can see, we're at an airfield, not a carrier. Also, you'll notice on my wings, I got nothing on the pylons, nothing on the wingtips. So in that case, I'm going to set my flaps for half. If you were fully loaded, well, obviously you want full flaps. Below that, you see anti-skid. You want that set on for airfields, off for carriers. Below that, you're going to see a gauge. That's your brake pressure. You want that set at 3. All right, let's go ahead and crank the left engine. Come to our engine display. We see the RPM going up. Once again, when we hit 20%, we want to hit right alt home. And that'll introduce fuel into the left engine. There we go. And that one should start cranking up to 65% on the RPM. While that's going, let's go ahead and turn on our displays. We got our left and right DDIs. Let's go ahead and set both of those for daytime. Day and day. I come down here, I turn on my HUD by moving the brightness knob to full bright all the way to the right. Next, I'll go down and turn on the multicolor display panel right here by doing the same thing, turning the brightness knob all the way to the right, full bright. I then come over here to my helmet HMD brightness knob and turn that on to full bright. And then I come down here to my SAI Cage knob. You see you got a little red flag there. We want to get rid of that. You get rid of it by turning the knob a little bit. And there it goes. And now you got to recenter the wings with the horizon line. One more. There we go. Alright, so I have my helmet display. I have a HUD display. I have my left and right DDIs and a multicolor display panel. Alrighty. Checking the left engine, we're at 65%. Our engines are now good to go. We have 2 more tests to perform. Let's start with our bit failures. We come over here to our right DDI. You see the FCS-MC. Press the button right next to it. That brings up your FCS window. You'll see FCS A and B are P-bit go. So we come over here to the right panel, way over on the right side in the back, and you'll see the FCS bit test switch. Go ahead and click that in the up position and hold it there like that. While you're holding that, you come over to your FCS window on your right DDI and click the FCS button. You can then release this button in the back, and then you will notice that your FCS A and B are now in test. Let's go ahead and set up our second test. This requires us to come down to our INS knob, turn it to GND, ground, and while we're here, we'll go ahead and move the radar knob from off to operational. Hopefully no one's in front of the plane. Nope, because if there were, we just would have fried them to a crisp with radiation. Alrighty, so still continuing setting up the second test, we come to our multi-color display panel. Click push button 3 once, twice, brings up your navigational window. You see STD heading at the bottom. Click the button below it and cage it, or box it some people call. I call it caging. And there you see it's caged. Now what you'll notice is the timer counts down, or timer counts up, and dual counts down from 100. It'll eventually reach 0.5 and it'll say OK next to the number. So this is testing, this is still testing. So let's go ahead and below the multicolor display panel, while that's running their tests, let's turn our flare dispenser to on. Let's turn our ECM to REC. And then hidden under here, you'll see your RWR or the ALR67 power button. Go ahead and press that to turn it on, and you should hear some beeps. There they are. Alrighty. Let's see, that test is still running, that test is still running. So let's go ahead to our display panel here between the DDIs, and let's set up our data link. We set that up by pressing DL for data link. Oh, I got hiccups. And then you'll see some information show up and you'll click on. You'll want to make sure that this says on 33600. We come down to data link again, press it again, click on again, and it should say on 127. Finally, we'll come to IFF, press that. We press on once again, and you'll get your IFF information. Alrighty, so we look over back at the FCS, we see restart, that means the test is done. I like to, at this point, go ahead and set the right DDI to my support page by clicking menu twice. If we look down here in the multicolor display panel, we see dual now reads 0.6 and says OK. The test has finished. We may now come down to our INS switch and move it to IFA. What that'll do is that, oh, it's already cleared. So that is what we do after the error has cleared. There we go. And then you'll notice here that the STD heading has disappeared and is no longer caged. So that concludes our tests. We still have 2 errors though on our left DDI. Right bleed and left bleed are both off. These are off because we did our fire warning test of circuits A and B, and that turned off our bleed valves. So let's go ahead and turn those back on by coming to your right panel, locating the bleed air button right here, and you'll see it's set for normal. What you have to do is rotate the knob clockwise 360 degrees from normal to normal, like this. Boom, and you come back and you see on your tactile display that the error has disappeared. At this point in time, I like to go ahead and click the SA button. This brings up your nav window like you have down in your center display. And then here I will press sequence 1, cage it, press waypoint, cage it, and go ahead and select waypoint 1. Once that's done, I go ahead and switch this to tactical, and I leave my navigation down here in the middle. Alrighty, we have only one other thing to do, and that is release the parking brake. Boom, there you go. And we are now takeoff ready. That's all there is to it, boys and girls. Add a little bit of thrust, maybe 25%, and you'll start rolling forward a little. Yeah, let's bump it up a little more. And we head towards the runway. So that's it. That's all you got to do. As I mentioned before, down in the description, you will find a quick start guide from cold to takeoff ready, given to us by Eagle Eye. Again, Eagle, thank you. And that's all I have to show you today. So take it easy. Peace.